Before the video begins, I just want to say a few things. Thanks for 30 subs. I kind of reached a milestone a while ago, but I just thought I would acknowledge it today. Oh, and also, we're well over 5,000 views, and I'm nearing 6,000, so that's cool. Anyway, on to the video. Everybody knows Nintendo. Everybody knows Mario, everybody knows Pokemon, everyone knows The Legend of Zelda. A lot of people know The Legend of Zelda. But you know what most people don't know? Color TV game. So what is the Color TV game? Well, it's a console made by Nintendo in the late 70s, and despite popular belief, is Nintendo's first console, not the NES. This console hasn't been talked about much, but it has been, no doubt. One big reason you might have not heard of this console is that it was only released in Japan, so that explains a lot. And technically, there are multiple models of the Color TV game, but they're basically the same thing. I'm looking forward to discussing the console, but before I can talk about Nintendo's first venture into gaming, I want to talk about what they did before they became the company we all know today. At the time before the Color TV game, Nintendo was known for making toys and playing cards. At this time, they were more focused on toys, despite originally starting with playing cards back in 1889. The thing that attracted them into the growing video game market was, well, just that. It was a growing market. But they did not go right into making the Color TV game. They first made an electronic toy called the Beam Gun, which was later inspired to create a light gun controller for the Magnavox Odyssey, the first video game console. After that, they started creating their own light gun products. The price of the light guns and the popularity of its competition made them discontinue their light gun products. With the popularity of the Odyssey and Atari's consoles, Nintendo decided to invest further into gaming, and eventually they made the Color TV game. But they did not do this alone. In fact, a good portion of the work was done by fellow Japanese company. I don't know how to... I might butcher this, so I'm just gonna show it on screen. Had previously helped them as well. Apparently one of the models of the console's casing was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, who would go on to make a small indie game known as Super Mario Bros. You might have heard of it. So released at a really low price of 9,800 yen, which is roughly 100 Canadian dollars, but I now realize that might be super off because I didn't really think of inflation when I made that calculation, so do not quote me on that. Anyway, Nintendo used its low price as a marketing strategy, trying to attract people who were interested in the sensation of video games, but whose parents didn't want to burn a hole through their wallet. It contained 6 built-in games because cartridges weren't a thing at the time, so those games were the games you got. I find it fun to look back at a time where literally every game was just Pong. Like, all these games are Pong. Like, ooh, this game has 2 more paddles. Or, ooh, and this one has slightly smaller paddles. That's Pong, okay? Stop lying. Anyway, the Color TV game was pretty successful, which encouraged Nintendo to jump to a second model called the Color TV Game 15, because instead of just 6 games that are identical to Pong, you got 15 games that are identical to Pong. Wow, that's super cool. This one had a much longer production period, therefore is much more common than the old version. In general, this one was more successful. Since that success was there, Nintendo had another one made. This one is called the Color TV Game Racing. This console had one game on it, which you guessed it was a racing game. A top-down racing game called Speed Race, a game made by popular at the time game developer Taito, which was responsible for Space Invaders, one of the most popular arcade games of all time. The controller was the steering wheel this time, which, you know, makes sense because it's a racing game. Anyway, the fourth and final Color TV game model was called Color TV Game Block Kazushi, which instead of being 6 games identical to Pong, it had 6 games identical to Breakout. Whoa! And Breakout is basically Pong, but with bricks. You know, Pong wasn't the only game in existence at the time. Sorry, got a little carried away. It's just a little frustrating. Okay, I'm good. Anyway, this one I believe is the one where the casing was made by Miyamoto, which is cool. Anyway, moving on. Oh wait, I forgot a huge detail. So this model was the first one to be manufactured by Nintendo themselves, so technically this is Nintendo's first video game console. Not the other ones if you really want to get technical. And if you want to get even more technical, there was another TV game model called the Computer TV game, rather than Color TV game. This one came out in 1980, at the time when gaming consoles were becoming less popular in favor of arcade cabinets, which were much more popular. We know that didn't last long. Anyway, this one is way more rare, and is by far the rarest Color TV game console, and they aren't super common, so that's pretty, yeah. This one also had its casing designed by Miyamoto and contained a port of the arcade game Computer Otello, a port that was exactly like the arcade version, which was rare to see at the time. So yeah, the last Color TV game was pretty rare, and sold disappointingly. So, the Color TV game was an overall success, with all models selling around 3 million units in Japan. Not bad, not bad. But Nintendo had no idea what the kind of success they would get in the future. They had no idea. I can definitely see why many people forgot about the existence of the Color TV game. It was completely overshadowed by its successors by sales and popularity. It was only released in Japan, video games were much less popular, especially video game consoles, and it has a terrible name. That probably wasn't a reason, but try to say Color TV game 15 times in one video and you'll understand. So thank you guys so much for watching. I had a fun time making this video and I hope you enjoy. You can like, comment, and subscribe unless you don't want to, and in that case, don't. Please do.